Alrighty, hey guys, it's ZenAku here again, playing for Team Traffic Nexus. I'm basically going to be reviewing a replay that somebody sent in from a thread that I made in All Things Protoss on Reddit. Basically, he's a Masters Protoss from EU, and his name is Hazomg. And basically, his issue that he was after was basically a blink into some kind of like Archon timing, and I'll just start playing the game from the start, just in 2x speed. And basically, this is one of the issues with PvP, where if you leave your opponent alone for long enough, they're able to simply just get up a tech or mass an army when you're not scouting them. You're either making too many probes, or you don't have the infrastructure in general to be able to deal with them. So I've got a little bit of notes here. Basically, he was saying that one of his issues that he was mainly having was with in the late game trying to deal with mass Templar or Archon when he's going for mass voidrays. That's basically one of the reasons why you don't really see mass voidrays in general in PvP, just because it's so difficult to get that army up. Obviously Storm just does 80 damage and the voidrays are so slow they can't really move out of it. And you can't really get your own Templar to defend against it, because he will just have a superior ground army where he will just either kill your Templar or just overrun it or something like that. If you do see a style like that, you may see some kind of immortal void ray, but then you've got so much supply in void rays where he'll just overwhelm you on the ground and then eventually just be able to storm your void rays. That's basically one of the reasons why you don't really see it. Now also in the replay, in the email, he was saying that he likes to reactively go for a 5 Stalker Rust depending on if he makes a second gateway, or depending on how much chrono boost he has. That can be a good decision as well. Something to consider as well is that normally when you see a lot of chrono boost like that, and they could be going for their own 5 Stalker Rush like that, sometimes it's actually better to basically be a little bit greedier with your tech while also still being safe as well. Because if you see a lot of chrono boost and you see him chrono boosting his gateways to do some kind of pressure, basically what you want to be trying to do is doing exactly what he's doing, but only being defensive with it. And what it means by that is that you can then distribute your chrono boost, and because you have defender's advantage, essentially the chrono boost that he used is not necessarily as useful. Granted, he'll be outside your base, but you'll be able to get that tech faster, and by the time he gets to your base, you would either have some form of tech already there, whether it be for Stargate or Robo for Immortals to break the contain. So I'll just play it at normal game speed now. Now I noticed something as well before, which I'll mention as it comes up. So he's made his mothership core straight away, made a sentry first up and 2 stalkers. That can be very nice because obviously he gets that fast hallucination. Now I'll just have a look at what Jonik is actually saying. He hasn't actually scouted you at all, which is it's a questionable decision, whereas you've actually scouted him, and I'm not sure. I'll just take it back for a second. I'm not sure if he was actually making a stalker at first to try to fake you out. Let's have a look. No, he actually just went straight for the sentry. So if you would have hung around, saw that the sentry was coming out instead of the stalker, you have about if you time it correctly, you can actually check. Personally, I don't, but normally you actually can do that, and you can see what kind of how he's going to be playing it out. And normally when he's going for a sentry like that, you should trying to get your own kind of scouting in the early game as well. And what I mean by that is if he's going for a sentry first, you can essentially also try and get your tech out a little bit faster as well. Granted, the timings don't line up as well. This is one of those things where you're kind of preemptively predicting what he's going to be doing as well, which obviously can be very difficult to what I was saying. Like I was saying before, he could have all this chrono boost, be going for a 5 Stalker Rush himself, but then actually not even go for the Stalker Rush and just go for a really fast blink, and then your 5 Stalker pressure, like you were saying, would also be very strong as well. Now, if we go back to All Vision, now you were going for this 5 Stalker Rush, which obviously is a very, it's a good way to be defensive because you have the faster units earlier on. But at the moment, you don't have the mothership core. You've got your tech starting, and obviously the other thing as well is that when you have the 5 Stalker Rush and it's on your you're being defensive with it, you basically have like the strongest army in the very early game of PvP until he comes on his side of the map. So what you should be trying doing is basically just moving your units along the side here, and just scouting if there's any like maybe proxy tech for whatever reason might be there if he was going for proxy DT, or even just like trying to get zone out this mothership core. If you were being defensive as you were doing, there's no real reason to not have one of your units just sitting right here. Or what you could, if you're just scared of him like running up your ramp, what you could do is just have a stalker up here, and because you have the high ground vision, you'll be able to see if any units are coming, and you'll be able to calculate, oh, okay, I need all my stalkers to be at the front now because he's obviously attacking me. So you can have one stalker at the front just scouting if there's any units coming, and just have another stalker right here being able to zone out this mothership core. Because if we look at what he's doing right now, he scouts the Stargate, and his response is basically to go straight into that Twilight Council, which is the correct response to do. And obviously, and actually, I didn't quite realize in this game he actually made 28 probes. So he was, as far as I'm concerned, it really looked like he was actually planning on taking a natural base as well. But he was probably thinking like, well, if I look at what he's got, he hasn't really got much to scout me at all. He's only got that Stargate. And let's have a look. He actually scouts as well. He sees that you're taking your natural nexus. And he also sees, in just a second, that you only have 2 gateways. And so basically what's happened here is he's seeing what you've made, realized that you're only producing out of 2 gateways, where he's producing out of a total of 5. Which obviously, that's double and more of what your production is. And he's also going for a blink, which is very strong against Stargate as well. Although void rays are very good against stalkers as well, you really need to combo them with those immortals if that's the situation you're put in. Because obviously, once there is enough blink stalkers, you can basically just bait out the overcharge, or whatever it's called, the power up of the void rays. And he'll just blink out, wait till the cooldown's back on, and just attack you again. And you basically won't have anything to be able to deal with. So I think you scouted that he cancelled it, and I'm not sure if you clicked on the Dark Shrine, but you also see the Dark Shrine as well. Now this is actually a very nice play by him, because later on he does something with that, which I'll mention. So you basically start making your robot. It makes sense. But basically I feel like this is just a case of not scouting your opponent early enough. Now I don't feel like you making this nexus was really the game loser here. I think, because if we actually look at the unit count right now, you've got 5 stalkers, 1 void ray, 1 sentry and 1 oracle, and a mothership core. But the main key thing is that you're just powering off 2 gateways, where he's got a total of 5. So really what this is just a case of not being able to scout your opponent constantly during PvP. There's a lot of situations where, just like this, he cancels the nexus, stops making probes, dedicates all his chrono boost to just making gateways, and just basically attacking you. Now we'll have a look at what he's doing. He makes a pretty smart decision. He hallucinates archons, because you've seen the Dark Shrine. So if you were to try to cut his army in half, whether it be for force fields or anything like that, and you may think, well, he can just blink over the force fields, but what the force fields do is it buys you more time, and if he were to attack you, he would have to blink over the force fields. And the reason why void rays are very weak against stalkers is because they have that blink cooldown. They're able to just say like, okay, you have the overcharge now, I'm just going to blink out and wait till it's back up. I mean, wait till it's off now. But if a Protoss player blinks on top of your void rays, obviously the void rays are microing against nothing. They're able to just, obviously add DPS to stalkers, and that should be okay. So like I was saying, off 2 gateways, and the 3rd gateway's making, he's on 5. He's got his mothership core at home. And if we look at the unit counts again, it's now 10 stalkers to 5. Look at his cooldown. Yeah, he only recently just swapped in, so that's kind of fair enough. And you're on like half your cooldowns as well. You've got 2 chrono boosts on your natural nexus as well, which you're trying to chrono boost out more void rays. And this is the other thing as well, is that against these openings, seems obvious that the Blink player is able to get a lot more units out a lot faster than you're able to, and he's able to attack you in these certain timings where you just start the Void Ray, which is force supply, and it takes another 60 seconds, granted if you have Chrono Boost then it would take 30 seconds, that he's able to attack you, and basically attack you when your army is at your weakest. And so basically it's just a case of, and you actually have two Void Rays here, and unfortunately it targets that Archon, which obviously is just wasted DPS, but unfortunately, obviously, it was very hard to know if that was the real one or not. I think with the Oracle that you made at the very start of the game, that it could have definitely been here in this fight, in case if it actually was for any Dark Temple or something like that, because he's actually still got the structure, and you actually have no detection at this point. And because your Robo was already kind of late as it was, to make an Observer during a time when you should already try to be making Immortals is very crucial. So we'll keep playing it out, and this game actually was very close. Now I'd like to mention as well that during this entire fight, the Mothership Core has enough energy to be photon overcharging, and also even though he has Archon tech, and you have enough energy to photon overcharge the natural, and you could just run into the main. And this is the other thing with PvP again. It's so very meticulous with the fact that if he doesn't make the Archon, then he's dedicating more resources to other things. So he's kind of faking out by saying like, well, you know, you could force field the ramp, and you know, if you photon overcharge the natural, I'll just run into the main because I have my Archon. But then again, the Archon is hallucinated, and he's dedicated more units to making Blink Stalkers, which are very good against your army. So it's kind of this awkward situation. So I'll just keep playing forward again. And like I was saying, it's just a case of like just having too many units being able to deal with that. And you do eventually use the photon overcharge. And like I was saying, it's just one of those things about making the most out of a situation which isn't favorable. I really think that somebody that opens Twilight Council against somebody that opens Stargate can be it's more favorable to the Protoss that opens the Twilight Council, just because they're able to basically control the pace of the game, and they're able to basically get an advantage later on in the game as well. Like I was saying, with the fact that they've already got the Twilight tech out, and they really have no use for that Stargate, and it's GG from there. And he's actually running a DT into the natural as well, which could have been very bad. So like I was saying, I think the main issue is that I like the 5 Stalker Rush opener. It allows for you to be defensive, not to really get you know, cheesed out or anything like that, you know, saying that I'm being defensive. I could be going for Blink of my own, which then forces him to make a Robo, but then you already have the Stargate, which means that you can go Phoenix. So there's plenty of like little openings that you can be doing here. I really think that the main issue was just the lack of scouting in the early game. A lot of people like to try and do different things, whether it be scouting with the Mothership Core, but then that can be very dangerous as well because it can get sniped, or it can scout nothing at all. Or even get like that earlier sentry that I was talking about. That's a style that I like to do as well. Get that really fast sentry. Notice if any 3-gate pressure is coming, just make Stalkers of your own. But I think really this is just a case of, unfortunately, just not making the correct units fast enough. So even at, let's skip just before the attack happens, how many resources you actually do have. So obviously when he makes the Dark Shrine, you're forced to make an Oracle, and obviously if you get sniped you have to make another one, or you're just going to lose the DTs. So this is where it with just one unit, which you can then make into an Archon, and he's forcing you to make an Oracle, which then Oracles don't really do that much damage against his composition in general, which obviously this is the kind of thing that I was saying, that how one unit can also have a different value to it, where it's Archons in the early game are very strong against Protoss, and especially against the Stargate opener, it's almost like there's not much really you know, that can actually kill Archons from the Stargate, because Void Rays obviously don't do extra damage against Archons, Phoenix can't pick up the Archons, so there's plenty of room for why that's really strong. So like I was saying, I think the opener in general, although it is holdable, I think later on he'll have an advantage in the game, but that still doesn't mean that you'll you'll lose or anything like that. There's definitely a lot of plays that you could be making. And I think that scouting with the Oracle, although it is a nice idea, I think that you may need to find other ways of scouting your opponent in the early game, because as I was saying right now, you're only just chucking down the Robo, and his blink is, yeah, almost finished. Granted, he doesn't attack you for a little bit longer as well. It's just one of those things that it just needs to be a little bit faster. And I think that's about it. So overall, just getting that that faster tech out with that Robo instead of getting the faster Nexus. And although the faster Nexus is obviously better for macro-oriented play, because you're getting that faster economy up, when you obviously saw that he was making his natural Nexus as well. You should always be kind of prepared for that. And obviously, this is another thing why you always see a lot of people go 3 gateways, or fast 3 gateways with obviously the Robo straight after a natural Nexus before any type of upgrades or anything like that, because these attacks are so strong. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that analysis. Feel free to email me any more questions or anything you think that I missed out on, or you think that I may have said wrong, because I'm still learning as it is. But I really think that that's basically how this game went. There wasn't much that could have gone differently. The other Protoss player obviously played very well. He was doing the correct things, and obviously made quite a lot of bluffs with the fact that he also opened quite differently as well. But that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching, and yeah, have a nice